Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second spoiler talk for the Dandelion Dynasty. And this time we got RJ Reeds, who got what I'm told is the best book, Wall of Storms, because this was pretty fire. I see Jay has finished the book in time, which is a celebration, and I'm going to preface this, even though the title of the video is spoilers. We are going to be spoiling things right away. There's not going to be a spoiler-free section. And I am now going to introduce us to our guest, RJ. You can tell the people what you got going on.
Yeah, my name is RJ. I run the channel RJ Reads. So what I do is I talk about fantasy, mostly reviews, wrap ups, just your typical booktube videos. I started a new series. It's a conversation series called DNFs and Diesel. Um, it's a great name. I didn't come up with it. That's how you know I didn't come up with it because it's a really good name. Um, but yeah, that's all I do. But thank you so much, Jake, for having me on for Wall of Storms.
No problem.
My favorite book of all time. So it's easy to talk about for me.
Yeah.
Because it's spectacular.
Yeah,
Absolutely
sounds good.
phenomenal.
I mean, you're going to make me sound like a hater. I liked Grace of Kings. This book ruled. Like, I've got the cover quote on here is like, this is better than Grace of Kings in like every way. And when I read that, I was like, is it really though? And then I read the book and I was like, holy crap, I think this is better than Grace of Kings in like every way. It's different. Like, it's a lot more zoomed in. But what would you say is the main thing that makes it like your favorite book ever? What would be?
I think it literally has everything I love about fantasy in it. Like the political intrigue is just on point, just throughout. The action is I prefer kind of a bird's eye view when it comes to action. So actually looking at the battleground and seeing what's happening and all the tactics on a much larger scale rather than the in the dirt kind of Joe Abercrombie, John Gwynne kind of action. I do love that action as well, but I prefer the bird's eye view. Also, magical creatures. I'm a very big fan of that. So if your fantasy book has a lot of magical creatures, different races, I'm going to be very much into that. And Garanaffin are fucking awesome. So
I am going to warn
yeah,
people. I will be calling them cow dragons, not just for this stream, but for every remaining stream.
yeah.
If the only time I actually, you know what, I think I have to stick to my guns. If I ever have Ken Liu on, can I still call them
Mm-hmm.
cow dragons, or do I have to start like
Yeah,
saying
just
the
call them
correct
cow
name?
dragons.
I
Just
think
call
I'd
them
still
that.
call them cow dragons.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
Thank you, Edgar. We're glad to have you here, and we got Shad here as well. So one thing I noticed right away from this book is, yeah, like it started like very political intrigue wise. Like
Mm-hmm.
it started a lot more like a normal fantasy narrative in that it was more like actually following the characters. I think like the test for if that was in Grace of Kings would have been like one chapter. And right away I was like, Ken Liu did the trick where he introduced like basically a new protagonist, and then that protagonist was like instantly my favorite character.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
Zomi's awesome. She's insane. Just her backstory was like what I love about Grace of Kings was the backstories that um most of the characters got. That tended to be my favorite parts of Grace of Kings. For example, Matta's uncle, Finn, like his POV or his backstory was phenomenal. I love that. Jin's backstory was amazing. Luan's was amazing as well. Zomi's was probably my favorite. Zomi, um, yeah, no, she is just phenomenal. I have to really think about what I say because I don't want to inadvertently
yeah,
spoil the
Veiled
rest
Throne,
of the
and yeah.
series. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I've been there.
Zomi,
It's tricky, like when you're doing
yeah,
like a talk for something that you've read further, but I believe in you.
yeah, no, Zomi's awesome. Um, I think uh, what was it? Her what was it? It's gone. It's gone.
That's
What I was
okay.
about to say. Uh, carry on. Sorry.
speaking of backstories, I like this book has a lot of flashbacks, and I don't know how they managed to not feel jarring. Like every time we'd go to the flashbacks, like there was one of them, we were like in the middle of a battle almost. And it's just like, now we're going to go see what Luan did for 3 years. And I don't know how, like, that you'd expect that to be like, oh, okay. But I was like when they went off into backstories, like it was so good. Also, Luan is an absolute Chad for going over the Wall of Storms.
Yeah.
Hello, Jay. And I have to give a formal apology to Luan because Kyle had told me that there was someone who I would never guess in Grace of Kings who I would end up really hating. And so I was like, okay, who has kind of shown that they can be kind of ruthless and could be dangerous, but has been like really good in Grace of Kings? And I guessed Luan. And Luan, I should have had faith in you, my boy. I just I was so wrong about you. And I would just like to apologize to you. You flew over the Wall of Storms, which, like, in order of level of Chadness, one is waiting for a gap and going through. Next is going under, and then going over in a kite as you suffocate, releasing it from the ship you're attached to, and just being like, I'll figure something out. And then I guess that actually like is if someone just like sailed through it and was just like, come at me, bro, but they would die. So,
yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Well, Ken Liu's good at them.
It's a big thing in 3-body problem, Remembrance First Pass series. That's a very big thing. Like that happens a lot as well. And also that was translated. Books 1 and 3 were translated by Ken Liu. So that's done very well there as well. It's not jarring. I'd say it's done better in Dandelion than it is in 3-body. But again, it's not like 3-body isn't bad at that. It's just I think Ken Liu did a better job here.
This is like Wall of Storms is your favorite book ever. So by default, if something did someone similar to Wall of Storms, you think Wall of Storms did it better. I've been there. Hello, Charmaine. What is up? We got more people. I was going to ask something. Oh, yeah. Is this the worst back of the book cover description of all time?
I think so.
Like, it literally spoils that, like, the cow dragon invasion.
Yeah.
That's like,
basically.
That's like a huge twist halfway through. It's not like I was not expecting a cow dragon invasion. I was fully expecting, as I was reading the first half, for us to do another civil war and for Gia to like drive things apart, and for like the small rebellions to just like, you know, be like the snowball rolling downhill and to get out of control, and for them to encourage other rebellions. And then it's just like, holy crap. So I used to hold the opinion that the worst back cover ever was The Golden Fool by Robin Hobb, which also spoils something 300 pages into the book. But at least it's like, it's not as big of a thing as this. And like, it's not as much of a twist. So this is, also, one second, what's going on? There's a, I read everyone I've seen, including myself, has read the character glossary and been like, who is this like woman who Cooney married? But anyways, I also, so people said, don't read the character glossy after I read it. Did I miss something? Because I feel like I wasn't smart enough to get spoiled here. Because I read it.
What's spoiled in the character glossary?
Yeah, because I totally read it. And
same.
I would like someone to tell me what I wasn't smart enough to get spoiled on.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I don't read back. I have not read a back cover of a book I haven't already read since The Golden Fool.
They're
evil.
Yeah, it's a good way to go. Like, you don't want to be spoiled. I think that happened with me. Like Royal Assassin does that as well. Like Royal Assassin spoils like something like basically halfway through, and you're just like, why?
Yeah. Hobb covers Hobb back covers are like the second worst.
Yeah.
Charmaine, we tell me your secrets. What does it spoil? I'm so curious what
to know
what I missed. Anyways, she'll write it out eventually. Maybe it's a long thing, so it's a long comment.
Yeah, maybe. That's it.
When you
Um,
read this, had you been told that like Wall of Storms was, because it seems like Wall of Storms not everyone's favorite, but Wall of Storms is like most people's favorite.
yeah, I was told that. Yeah, I was told the Wall of Storms is the best one. It wasn't not a lot of people had told me that, but that was from the small sample that I had. That was the general consensus, was that Wall of Storms was the best um, up until that point, because book four hadn't come out yet. Um, so so I had high expectations going into it, because I'd heard it gets a lot better, and this is like the story that Ken actually wants to tell is in these last three books. And yeah, I think it was just the first part I really enjoyed. It wasn't until the Lyuku invasion and the introduction of the Garnafin, when that started off, it was like I was reading it and I was getting like almost an adrenaline rush from reading it for some reason. I was just like, oh my god, I need to read more of this. Like, it was insane. It was crazy. Like, and the amount of stuff that happens in this book
Yeah, and
is
I think
crazy.
because it's funny because compared to Grace of Kings, like not as ridiculous amount of stuff happens, but for
Hmm.
like a normal book, this still covers like a lot of time and a lot of
Yeah.
people. But well, the Grace of Kings seems like it to me like it was a compromise. Like we're going to compromise, really getting deep in the character's head, and in return, we're going to get this. Wall of Storms
Hmm.
almost didn't compromise. Like I felt like we were really close to the characters, and like the character work was really good, and it
Yeah.
covered a crap ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
It did.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah, it's the section about the Lyuk characters.
yeah, that's pretty okay.
Mm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I read that. I'm surprised it didn't click in my head that I remember when I had read the back cover, but I had forgotten most of what was on it. So when I got to the Lyuku invasion and the Garnafin come in, I was just like, "What the fuck is happening?" Like, there's cow dragons, and I'm trying to picture them in my head, and they look really weird in my head. Like, so,
I
yeah.
remember I got to that, and I was like, okay, so Ruthie's being dumb here, but like
Hmm.
also they're outnumbered a gazillion to one and have terrible weapons. Like surely this won't matter. And then it's just
Yeah,
like, holy crap, they have dragons. We are screwed.
yeah, yeah.
And they don't
It's
just have one or
crazy.
two dragons; they have a lot
No,
of dragons.
no, no, no.
Although they're not magical creatures, they're sciency creatures.
Very sciencey.
As is basically as is everything in this book. It really is like, oh, is this magic? No, it's science.
Yeah,
I'm now sold on the silk punk thing.
yeah, yeah. Like, I love how he like. So this is how they breathe fire, and in my head, it's like this makes a lot of sense. This really does. Like, I like in some weird way, you could see this as being real. Like, if this creature actually existed and it breathes fire, and someone told you this is how they do it, you'd be like, makes sense.
Yeah,
You
and I
know.
mean, like, obviously, like it was totally working like in reverse. Kenley was probably like,
Hmm.
I want dragons, and then
Yeah.
he was like, okay, how can dragons actually kind of make sense? Um,
Hmm.
one like
Yeah.
the consistency of the I'm a huge fan of internal consistency.
Hmm.
I internal consistency, gets me excited. Um, and there was a part in this book where when we learned like the Garafin gas could be used as lift gas, and I
Yeah.
was like, wait a second. In the fight scene, they try and shoot it up, but doesn't work because it comes back down because it was heavy. And I was like, so I went back and checked because I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm wrong. Like, I'm pretty sure Ken Liu didn't mess this up, but I would like to know why. And it went back and like, I was wrong. It's like the flamethrower gas was a mix of the Garafin gas and like pellet things to make it
Hmm.
heavier. So I
Yeah.
that just brought me great joy to be like, there's something I'm not sure how it works. I can go back and read it and be like, oh, that's how that works. Like, makes love me some
Yeah.
internal consistency.
Yeah. I love there's this random fact. I can't remember where I heard it. I think it was one of the interviews that Ken Liu did. So he, like, some of the stuff in Dandelion Dynasty, he has actually made himself, just so like the engineering and all of that actually makes sense. Like, that's crazy to me. especially because of some of the stuff that happens, especially in book 3 and book 4.
Oh,
Like some of the stuff that's in it, you're like, I don't think he made that stuff, but some of it he did, and it's crazy how he made that stuff, because he's an engineer as well. Like, he's an engineer, a lawyer, an author.
He's
Like,
got a brain the size of a truck. Like, let's be
yeah,
real.
he really does. Yeah,
Yeah. He's bringing his truck-sized brain. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Although, so one
yeah.
thing that was I thought was a really interesting detail is because obviously when this happened in our world, like, the people who lived there got sick. And CGP Grey has a video about this. And basically, like, one of the reasons is Europe had a lot more animals that were, like, possible to domesticate. And a lot of really bad plagues are, like, intraspecies. Like, someone gets really unlucky. And that led to, like, that's why it didn't go the other way. Like, there was none of the people who lived in North America gave the Europeans, like, this horrible plague that went back. But, like, the Lysusu, they obviously have, like, the Garifin and their own domesticated animals, and it went the other way. Like, the Darins are the people who got sick. And I thought, like, that was a really interesting detail. And this is one of those things where, like, I almost guarantee Ken Liu thought about this. But I generally think, like, when people are like, I don't know if this author thought about it, I'm usually like, they probably did. It took them years to write this book and you 5 days to read it. They thought about it a lot more than you did. And also, Ken Liu is, like, a lot smarter than I am. So I'm not going to ever be like, I'm sure I thought of this and Ken Liu didn't. Because, like, he probably did.
Yeah, he definitely did. Yeah. So what did you think of...
Yeah, both did, yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you think of Cooney's children? I want to kind of touch on
I thought
that.
they were fantastic characters. I was immediately invested from, like, the first chapter. Like, Timu, Pharaoh, and Thera. I'm bad at names. If I get a name wrong, I would like to apologize.
Timu, Thera,
Pharaoh?
I
said them in the wrong order.
Hold on. Yeah, Timu, Pharaoh, Thera, and Farah.
Oh yeah,
they're very similar names. Yeah,
I forgot about Farah. Farah, the Rickon Stark of Wall of Storms.
Yeah, I thought her and Selden from Live Ship would get on very well. I would like a buddy cop between.
Yeah, we can add Rickon in there as well. Yeah, we can add Rickon in there as well.
Yeah, like a Three Musketeers type thing.
The Three Musketeers have forgotten children, and whoever ends up in that book gets the least amount of page time is the true forgotten child who can then actually get that title. I really like the kid. Like, I like all of them, really. I mean, Timu, he got corrupted. Come on, Timu, but can't blame him. And I like how they all feel like they were raised by the same people, but are also all distinct. I love the part where we don't get a lot of Cooney chapters for the start of this book. And from the outside, like, I was kind of worried. What sometimes annoys me is when someone clearly way more competent than, like, the previous empire does a revolution, and then once they're in charge, they start, like, being dumb, because they, like, Cooney was really smart. And I love the Cooney chapter because it was like, okay, we're not doing this. Like, Cooney is still really smart. Cooney has a line, and it's, like, about Zomi, and is like, about, like, young people, like, bringing in, like, radical ideas, but then, like, them being, like, worn down by practicality, but then, like, new young ideas, and each, like, crazy, like, each wave on its own does nothing, but, like, in aggregate, this is one of the things that move the world. And he's like, I can be patient. I love that scene. Right away, like, the royals sneaking into the city, it's a thing, but it's a thing that I'll like forever, so whatever. And I kind of like that they stopped that, like, confrontation with Zumi without just, like, name dropping themselves, which that happens a few times where I'm like, they could have just name dropped themselves and they didn't. Good job, everybody. He could have been. This is also, like, I really like that this wasn't ignored. That I said for, like, the Grace of Kings chat that Cooney and like Gia's relationship is weird because they were separated for like so much of this book, and that's even more true for like his two children he had with Gia, like Thera and Timu. And this was like, this was done so well. So Thera, I feel like kind of has to be your favorite, and Thera is my favorite.
Yeah.
But Cooney's final like moment where he named Thera Air. It was so good.
Yeah,
so
good.
Yeah, what do you think? Are you also on team Thera? Kind of has to be your favorite.
Yeah, I think at Wall of Storms, Thera was my.
He added the Wall of Storms disclaimer.
Is my favorite. Yeah. Maybe it changes. Maybe it doesn't. I have to find out. And feel through them. No, but Thera, I think, she's the most like Cooney, or she takes the best characteristics of Cooney, I think.
Yeah.
For me, she takes the best characteristics of both a Cooney and Gia, I think. Timu he's too, like, at the start of the book, I didn't like him because he's kind of proper and he's very uptight, and he's very much part of, like, he's very much with custom and stuff like that. He's very into that, and Fyro is just kind of the redheaded stepchild who's kind of left to the side by Gia. I think I love all the children. Farah, I'm not going to say anything.
Well, Farah, I feel like could be my second favorite just because she's not old enough to have messed anything up yet. I actually, even though Timu is like a bit uptight, I really like that. I'm sure when not interacting with his siblings, he's more uptight, but like also when Thera and Firo go and do something like foolish, he's like, they're my younger siblings, I gotta go with them. And I like that he doesn't quite successfully force his uptightness on Thera and Firo, and is instead just like, well, I better go with them and make sure they're okay.
He's very much takes on the responsibility of being the eldest. I think he is the eldest.
He is, yeah. I think it's Timu, then Thera, then Fyro, then Farah.
I think a lot of I think it was Davison mentioned it earlier about the tension between Cooney and Timu. I think that was very much part of a team, or Cooney isn't around that much when Timu was growing up, because Timu grew up sort of towards the back half of Grace of Kings. So he would have been away for a lot of that. I didn't really know him. I remember a scene specifically, like, when Cooney comes back, his children don't recognize him because they've basically never seen him before.
Yeah.
Like, he's just a name to them, So I think that's where a lot of that tension comes from. I think it comes from just not being around. And then I assume when Cooney becomes emperor, it's probably a different dynamic as well again, because they can't have that same father and son relationship because of the situation that Cooney's in. So I think that puts, again, even more pressure on that and more strain on that relationship, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's such a, like, in hindsight, when you think of Grace of Kings, like, it's an obvious consequence. Like, obviously his relationship with Timu is going to be strained. But like at the end of Grace of Kings, I wasn't like, well, there might be an issue because the heir Timu is going to have a strained relationship with his father because of all this. Like, but in hindsight, it just became like very obvious that this would be a consequence. Yeah. And I like it when stories do things where I'm like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. And also there's some comparisons between Greenbone and Dandelion coming in, which I think makes sense. They've both got the multi-generational thing going on. Although in terms of, like, Greenbone kind of zooms out as you go, and Dandelion is zooming in as you go. Yeah, that's an oversimplification, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm a third of the way through Jade City. I'm doing that on audio, and it is pretty good. I'm definitely enjoying that one. So
Good.
I don't really see the comparisons just yet.
Yeah,
Again,
no,
I
it's
assume
that's
more.
why like Jade City and Grace of Kings are not similar.
Mm-hmm.
But Greenbone and Dandelion Dynasty are a lot more similar than like the book ones are. The book ones actually aren't similar at all. Yeah, that probably would have been helpful, but of course, you know, the 8 foot tall, 4 pupiled man had to capture them and just, you know, messing things up.
Yeah.
Okay, we got Mac preferred Grace of Kings. That's okay, Mac. That's allowed. Non-law of Cooney and Mata. I think I might like them even more than Cooney, but I mean, I also really like Cooney in here. I was really enjoying this book even before the Lysusu invasion. I was like, this rules. And people were like, this isn't even the part that people really like. And I was like, okay, let's go. And then we got Cow Dragons. And we had another, because Luan managed to like destroy something and we weren't sure what. And then I really like what it was because like the antagonists are also running into problems. Like life is complicated and everyone's plan is going badly. And that doesn't only apply to the Darins. It also applies to the Lysusus. And I'm actually like, considering they couldn't get more Cow Dragons, I don't know if Gia actually had to like surrender to them there. I don't know if they really could have invaded again. I know the Darins were also like depleted. Although I'm sure like Luan after dying manages to like, well, I guess, you know, kills more Lysusu like soldiers and people than everyone else combined with math. So I feel like, you know, if you did the negotiation after that, it might be like, you know, come at me now, bro. You've been Luan. Man, that was pretty brutal. That was pretty brutal. Be like, I wonder how many people did he kill there or cause to die? Like,
I don't know.
Thousands for sure.
Probably, yeah. I'd say it's about that.
I mean, I think this was like a larger force than the first one because now they knew where they were going, and the first one was like 5,100 Cow Dragons.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But obviously, like they didn't know at the time. That was one thing I don't know if like because Zomi like read Luan's thing. I was kind of like I was wondering when she was going to be like, hey, I wonder what this thing Luan destroyed at the very end was. But they didn't figure it out, or that would have been, or maybe they could have actually like negotiated a little harder because Gia, like you can negotiate a little better than that. Come on. But you know, bloody Gia.
I know.
We haven't talked about yet. So
we haven't talked about Gia yet. Let's talk about Gia. What did you think? Do you hate her?
Yeah, I mean, like I do see what she's trying to do. It's also like I'm just not sold that you can make an empire without at some level relying on like somewhere there has to be some kind of like personal trust. Like this was, so if we look at the Roman Empire, they were like theoretically supposed to, like the Praetorians were supposed to always follow the emperor, but they ended up just running into the problem where the Praetorians, which were the emperor's guards in the Roman Empire, kept just killing the emperor if they didn't like him. And it was just like, and a lot of the good emperors, good on a relative scale, were the people who could actually trust their subordinates to like not backstab them. And Gia is trying to like get rid of that completely. And I see where she's coming from because she's like, okay, if I succeed here, it will be more stable, like more enduring. And like it right now, what they have would run into the problem too. When you get a bad emperor, it sucks, right? Like when you get a good emperor, it's fine. But when you get a bad emperor, it's like, ugh. And she's like, okay, no, we don't want that. Which I get where she's coming from, but I just don't think she had a chance of succeeding. And the way she went about it is just unacceptable.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. She's again, I have to be careful with my words here. What did you think of what she did with Rosanna, like at the very end? Like I think that's a turning point for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I
With
already was
Gia.
like bloody Gia, but that was like, come on.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that was just no. That is
Yeah. Yeah, because it wasn't even like she wasn't a threat to Gia. It was just the potential of her becoming a threat.
yeah.
Even though Rosanna had no intention, I think, really, of becoming a threat. I don't think
Yeah, this is what I was
at
saying,
that
Dave. It's
time.
like Gia looked at what they had and is like, okay, this system only works as long as we have a good emperor. I want to bring about something that works, like even if we don't have a good emperor. Um, which is like a worthy goal if she had a chance of success. But I just don't think her methods are acceptable, and especially like the Rosanna thing at the end.
Mhm.
Like, man, she's so manipulative with like the fake poison tea. Like, God, like damn, Gia. And Kyle
Yeah.
was right. This was not who I was expecting. I would not have predicted that. Um, yeah, and I mean, like in extremes, you can be like, okay, sometimes the ends justifies the means. Like, are you
Mhm.
saving the planet? Fine, you can do some bad things. Um, but I like she is taking this like always. She's almost like the means are just like not even really worried about them. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and also, actually, I really was like when she like entrapped Jin and entrapped Zomi.
Mhm.
That was like this is not a good idea. This is like you're worried that like if Jin rebelled, that would be bad. Like you are going to have people in your empire like who if they rebelled, that would be bad. Like you have to just pick people you trust. And Jin was like the most trustworthy person they could get in that position. And obviously this backfired immediately because the Lysusu invasion showed up and she was like, well, crap. Um, but like, really, did you never think you were going to have to fight a battle where like Jin would be really helpful? Like, really?
Yeah.
Um,
When Jin is basically your, she's the best person that you have. If you're going to war, you take Jin with you because
yeah.
she's just the best.
But
So
also like, and I don't know what she's going to do in the future, but I think
Mhm.
even if she does start like go a little betray, which is not, oh no, wait, she died. Never mind. What are we talking about? Yeah, I know
Yeah,
what
she
she's gonna
did.
do in the future. She's gonna do
She did.
exactly nothing because she died. Um,
Yeah. This is
yeah,
like
yeah, and I
yeah.
mean, Davis, I'd like to know. I think she is an extremely well written character. Um, which I haven't said. I've just been talking about whether I like her like as a person. Yeah, she's an extraordinarily well written character. But I was really like, she went past the point of no return for me when she entrapped Jin and
Mhm.
extorted Zomi. I was like, this is like this is not only really shitty, like what you're getting out of this isn't even that important.
Yeah.
Like, it was so scummy. And it was just
Yeah.
like that's where I was really like, okay, I know you think you're doing the right thing, but no, we're not doing this. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
what?
This is kind of the series where you shouldn't have favorite characters because your favorite characters just die in this.
Yeah,
Like Grace of Kings, you're like, I was like, oh, Matt is my favorite character here. and it's like at the end of the book he's dead. I'm like, oh shit. Well, I guess Cooney's my favorite character now. Oh, he's dead now. Oh, that's a shame. Or Luan, sorry, was my favorite character. It's like, oh, he's dead. It's like, oh. And now it's like, so Jin's now my favorite character. You can't kill Jin. You've killed off these three. You can't kill her. It's like, and now she's dead. And you're like, fucking Ken.
yeah.
Damn it.
There's a meme I have seen, and it's like George R. R. Martin being like, "I kill so many characters," and then someone has like Erickson being like, "Oh, that's cute," which I don't fully agree with. I actually think they kill characters at an approximately
Mm,
equal rate. But
yeah.
really, Kenley, you could look at them and just be like,
Yeah.
"You two are adorable." Like, Like, you know, these people are like, okay, we'll kill some major characters. Ken Liu is like, maybe some major characters might even live. Who knows? It's like, you know, the equivalent of, you know, if George, it's like, you know, 10 people go into like a battle. He's like, okay, one is going to die and it's going to be someone you care about. Ken Liu was like, okay, 10 people are going to go into this battle. 8 of them are going to die.
Yeah.
But I'm then going to take the 2 people who lived and I'm going to make them your favorite next book. Get good.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will. We're going to have Kyle there. And I have Kyle for Speaking Bones because the entire time he was reading Speaking Bones, the only non-spoiler stuff I saw was him. Like, I saw him complain about a bunch of stuff. And then he got to the end and it was like 10 out of 10. Like, everything I was saying was wrong. This is amazing. And I was like, okay, I would like to know how that came to be, Kyle. Ken Liu is a pretty amazing character. And my favorite Ken Liu quote, which was from before I read any of his books, was literally from an AMA, and I've stolen this. And someone asked him, like, how would you sum up, like, the themes of your book? And he was like, if I could sum up, he tried, and then he's like, but I'd like to note that if I could sum up the themes of my book in, like, a paragraph, I shouldn't have written a series. I should have written an essay. And I was like, yes.
That's so true. Ken is brilliant. Like, Ken's his short stories as well. Like, I've read like The Paper Menagerie, the short story itself, and it's like 15 pages or something. That's like the best 15 pages you'll read.
Yeah, I've got that. That's that. I would have read that this month, but Democracy stopped it because for the University Book Club we had Paper Menagerie. We had 3 short story collections, and there was Democracy voted, and Exhalation won, which was phenomenal. So I'm okay with that. Because Merchant and the Alchemist Gate, that was a pretty. Actually, no, that was more than 15 pages. That was like 40. Whatever. It was a really good 40 pages. Yeah. Kyle's rating system, like, okay, Kyle isn't here, but he gave. This is his logic. He gave Grace of Kings 10 out of 10 and Wall of Storms 9.5 out of 10. But then if you ask him which book do you like more, he'll like Wall of Storms is way better. And his reasoning behind this is he's like, okay, Grace of Kings, he has like one thing that he like actively complains about in Wall of Storms, and it's just he like Luan in his backstory has like a lot of coincidences happen with like who he runs into, and he was just like, so it drops 0.5 because that's something that I'm like he thinks could have been improved. And Grace of Kings, he's like, he didn't have that a distinct flaw that he could describe. And I'm like, yeah, but Grace of Kings has the flaw of being less good than Wall of Storms. So it's like, yeah, I mean, that's true, but Ken Liu wrote it better. Like, that's a flaw. But then also he'll be talking about Grace of Kings and he'll be like, oh, you know, the page like 40 to like 190 can be pretty rough for people. I'm like, is that not a flaw?
Well, he did say for people.
Like, if I wrote something that didn't have any like distinct flaws, like I got it like edited in beta read and fixed all the problems, would that be a 10 out of 10 despite the fact that it would be bad because I wrote it? Like, it might be the best book I could have written at the time, but that would be a not good book. That would be worthy of like a 3 out of 10, like at best. The flaw of less good is a thing. This is why I can be like, there are books I've given like really high scores where I actually have some distinct flaws, but I'm like, but the good stuff is just so insane. So all the other books have the flaw of not having this.
This is literally Wall of Storms for me. It's just, it's just more good than.
Before Kyle gets mad, I now have to say what his response is so he doesn't have to comment it out. So what Kyle would say is that the reason we have this different approach is that I rate books against each other. When I say this is like an 8.5 out of 10, that means it's less. I like it less than 9 out of 10s and more than 8 out of 10s. Kyle does not rate books against each other. Hello, Isaac. Leave here. We're spoiling things. Although right now I'm just saying what Kyle's defense was so he doesn't have to type it out. So he would say he's rating books based on like how they did their own stuff. Like, so if a book was as good as it could have been with the story and the writer who's telling it, that's the max score. And if a book wasn't, then it's not the max score. So that's why he can be like, he can give one book 9.5 and one book 10 and be like, the 9.5 book is better. And also he would point out this instance with Grayson Kings and Wall of Storms is really like rare. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, I also was like, no, Kyle, you're drunk. That's a bad reason. Give Grace Whale Storms 10 out of 10. But on the other hand, whatever. He's it's something like, I guess, because also, again, he wouldn't be saying, sorry, it's an objective flaw. If he gives something 9.5 out of 10, there's something, I shouldn't say there's a distinct way he thinks the book could be better. He would say there's a distinct thing he can describe that, like, it could be changed to make him like the book more. So he would say it's like a subjective flaw. I'm trying to not misrepresent Kyle. Even though misrepresenting Kyle is really fun. But anyway.
I love how you took both sides of that. Like,
no, Kyle's wrong. I'm just saying what Kyle's defense is. Kyle's defense is bad.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So what did you think of Peku Tenero, the leader of the live crew?
Screw that guy. I mean, where he already like sucked. I remember, I think it was Timu who said like that's like a philosophy of evil. Like that's bad. That's bad. But where I was like, no, screw this guy. I will hate this person forever, was when he sacrificed his own cow dragon to make sure his soldiers would actually like follow his orders. Like, no, that is not acceptable. Like, oh, screw that guy. Yeah. Anyways, I'm glad he's dead. He should have died more painfully, but I'm glad he's dead. So
yeah, he's when we got introduced to him, I thought this guy's kind of terrifying because he's got like he's like a big guy. He's got the strength of a Mata, but he's also kind of smart in a way. You know, like the scene where he's about to get executed and he asks for the cowhide blanket, and none of the Aegon were smart enough to realize if he wraps himself up in a cowhide blanket, they're not going to trample him to death. They're going to just go round him.
Can we phrase it differently? Because I was also not smart enough to do that. The way he phrased that made it's like, they're dumb. They didn't get it.
Yeah, they didn't get that.
Okay, I would like to. So I'm gonna, thing is, Kyle's, as it's been pointed out, his favorite word is straw man. It's not necessarily because I think he would be like, this took no risks, so that would be a flaw. Like Grace of Kings took a lot of risks. It's like he gave it a 10 because he thinks all the risks were like extremely well executed. Anyway, that was a brilliant escape plan that I did not figure out.
Yeah, neither did I.
I was like, but then in hindsight, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Man, that guy is ruthless. And then he's like, we are gonna combine dragons and professional soldiering.
Yeah, and I love because obviously the Garnathan can't fly over the Wall of Storms because they can't fly for very long because of the gas and all that.
Yeah.
So they have these massive city ships so that they can keep the Garnathan.
Well, they got those city ships from
that's right. Yeah, from
the previous emperor, right? Like from Mapadier, who sent them over. They're not building something like that.
No.
So Mapadier is still kind of screwing people over from Beyond the Grave. What a dick.
Yeah, he's a dick. Like he was only alive for like a few chapters. Like he wasn't alive for very long, and his impact is still being felt. What a dick.
Yeah. No, okay, I'm not going that far.
No,
I'm not going that far.
No,
but also, so one thing I noticed is, so they come over because they're like, this land is like so much more prosperous than ours. We want like this version of paradise. Then when they get over, they start trying to change the land to be more similar to their continent.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing, guys? Like, the entire reason you're coming over here is for the farming. And now you're like, no, we're going to come over here and get rid of the farming and like do what we normally do. Stop it.
Yeah.
This is why we can't have nice things.
it's so dumb. Like why would you go away from a land that you hate, that they notoriously hate,
Yeah.
and just make it the same? It
Like, you
makes
should
no
go
sense.
over and be like, okay, we have dragons, but now we are going to try and figure out how you feed yourself, and we're going to learn to plant rice.
Yeah. It's like they're in some ways very smart, and then in some ways not so smart.
Which,
This is one of the not so smart ways.
I mean, which that's probably one of the defining characteristics of mankind, our ability to be very smart and also very dumb.
Yeah.
Almost all my favorite characters are, a lot of them are in some way very smart, and in other ways very dumb. Yeah, I mean, that criticism is also just like really stupid. But yes, that is also another thing.
Yeah.
And then what I did really like, what's Tenryo's daughter's name? I forget.
Oh, Tabanaki?
Tabanaki? Okay. Is she raised the point that, like, even if, like, don't the lives from, like, that continent, like, if they weren't, like, trying to, not deliberately, but converting the land to look more like their land, like, they kind of have a point, like, why are the lives of Darins, like, special? Wouldn't it be, like, more morally acceptable to try and, like, let more people live in the more plentiful continent without, as long as you don't, like, deplete it, but probably Dar's reasonably big, and and also a lot of people have died in all these rebellions, so presumably they got room for more people.
It's like I wonder what, like, the total death count for, like, these, even just these two books. I wonder what the entire death count would be just from all these battles. Nobody's left in Dara anymore.
Yeah, there's like 12 of them.
Yeah, it's like 12 people.
And I mean, yeah, this is what happens with the cows, right? But also, like, they're not trying. Like, they're coming over there and they're being like, no, you change it. We're going to change it to our way. And they're not trying to, like, okay, how are we going to adapt and, like, start farming properly to not starve? Yeah. Good stuff. Ken Liu, man. What a mad lad.
Yeah.
What an absolute mad lad.
Yeah. So, I have to ask this question. So no to me, Snake? Big time?
What? Sorry.
No to me.
I forget who that is. 1 second. I'm bad at names.
Oh, you'll remember who he is. He's a snake in the grass.
No to me. Who are you? Are you on this? Can we describe what No to Me has done so far?
He's he was one of the guys in the.
Oh yeah, I remember who he is.
Yeah, No to Me.
What the crap? Which also, like, they should have killed that guy. Like, come on, guys. And I know, like, sometimes I can be a little bit amoral on these type of things when people take, like, really horrible people captive, and I'm like, okay, I know, like, in world this is still a person, but I really just feel like you should kill them.
Yeah.
Just
yeah. Ask Tanner and Jimmy what they think of No to Me. You'll get a response from them.
I mean, I'd hope they hate him because
they
worst.
do. Oh yeah, they do. Trust me. But their hatred goes another level. It's almost Kyle from Live Ship level of hatred.
Yeah, I mean, and like, point. If he hadn't sabotaged them, they would still have enough resources that they could then be like, okay, they would not have to negotiate that crappy peace treaty. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Darins are getting cow dragons.
Yeah. They are.
Let's go. Airships are the past, although they'll still probably have airships because airships have their own advantages. Everyone knows you should fly on flying lizards. That's just the way of the future. Yeah. I think we should abandon planes and we should go.
We should flying lizards. Yeah. Imagine like Ken secretly has like a Garnoffen. Like he's somehow been in a lab and has got one, and that's his main mode of transport. Is just
I agree. I think
it's
that
just
makes
fair
sense.
enough.
I would like to say my hate is without limit. Hating one character more does not stop me from hating others. My potential to dislike fictional characters is without limit. And so I can hate both. And I mean, Noda to me is like the worst person than Gia, like obviously.
Yeah.
Gia's just in a position of more power, so she can like do more things. But I mean, like no to me, if you're just like trying to not be practical, just like morally judge them, you'd be like, you totally suck. Gia, you also totally suck, but I can totally see where you're coming from. Noda, you just like please I think they should try and find a way to like have him breathe in the Garifin gas and see if they can light him on fire. I mean, he's dead. I think. Did he die? He died, right? I can't remember, keep track. So many people fucking died. Is he alive? He's alive.
No to
Isn't he?
me. No to me. He's still alive. Yeah.
He should
He's
be dead.
alive.
They should have him breathe in Garifin gas and then try and light him on fire and see if he just like explodes. Of all the people who died, why couldn't he have? I can't kill so many people. I can't keep track of who lived.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just Kogu. That's the only one that's left now. Pretty much. He's surprised. He's the main character now. So.
Funny thing about you, that could actually be true. Is the funny thing. Pondering, you approve of my have him breathing Garifin gas and then try and see light him on fire. Okay,
yeah,
I'm glad you approve. Yeah, no, I mean Thera's alive. I'm guessing Thera and Zomi are like the main characters of Veiled Throne. But we'll see. I mean. Yeah. It's not like I would have guessed. It could be a new person. It's not like I could have guessed who the protagonist of Wall of Storms was. So,
when you're reading Veiled Throne, there are two things that I'm excited for you to read. I'm very excited for you to be introduced to a certain character.
Okay.
Because they're something else. Let's put it that way. And there's a certain section of Veiled Throne, which is quite famous from people who've read this series. And it's like, I expected a lot of things from Dandelion Dynasty. This was certainly not one of them. So I'm very excited for you to read those.
Well, that'll be coming moderately soon. I'm currently waiting for Indigo shipping. Veiled Throne is on its way. Speaking Bones is also on its way. Because they had a sale. So I ordered both. Let's go. All right. Pete. Well, I know because Pete is a Veiled Throne stan. Pete, is Veiled Throne your favorite? Or do you just like it as much as the others? And you're just think everyone else is a hater.
I don't know. Like Veiled Throne is literally half a book, though. It's like Ken got his book and did that. That's what you.
Yeah, I mean, we make fun of Tad Williams for trying to write a 4-book trilogy, but I mean, Ken Liu did it, and both halves are like 80% as long as 2 Green Angel Tower. Okay, love it as much as the others. Okay, we'll see what happens. Who knows? Maybe I'll try and remember not to drink any haterade while I'm reading the second half of Veiled Throne. RJ, where are you stand? Are you drinking haterade?
I don't know. It's my least favorite out of the 4, but I don't hate it by any means. There's stuff that I really love about it.
So it's like, if I'm like live ship, the Mad Ship is my least favorite live ship book, 9.7 out of 10. Yeah,
it's kind of like that. Yeah.
Veiled Throne is next. And then the last one is Speaking Bones. Next thing, how good, like, of all the covers in the world that are like relatively minimalistic, why are these so much better than all the other ones? Like,
I don't know. It's so good.
Like this cover, like with like the red like flower things in the eye with the deer dragon. Like, how good is that? All right.
Yeah. If you've seen the UK covers for Dandelion,
they also slap.
They slap. And they also make like one image. There's like a photos online of people who've put all four together, and it makes one complete image,
I
and
like it
it's
when books do
gorgeous.
that. I like it
Yeah,
when
it's
books do that.
absolutely gorgeous. I want that as like a picture, and I want to put it up here. Like that's what I want because it's so good.
Yeah, okay. They do, like, they mean nothing before you read the book. Like, if you couldn't explain to someone why this cover is totally dope without them having read Wall of Storms, which I know, like, that's not really the point of covers. Covers are supposed to encourage you to buy them in the first place, but I'm still enjoying it quite a bit. And yeah, for like covers to go together, my hard covers of Sarantine Mosaic do that. And like I got them signed by Guy Gavriel K, and he was like, "Yeah, these are like my favorite covers I've gotten. Sometimes you get lucky." He put them together because there was another author, and he was like, "Isn't that awesome?" He didn't use the word awesome. So yeah. Fortunately, like it's the UK covers are great. I'm glad it's not an instance where it's like the UK covers are great and the US cover sucks.
Yeah.
Mistborn Era 2. Because I don't feel like having to order them all from the UK. I'm happy I can just order the US versions.
Yeah. Sorry, I want to say, speaking of the Cosmere covers for the UK, have you seen the one like it's Rhythm of War Part 2? Because
yeah, I've seen all of them.
Have you seen that one? That one is fine up until the figure, like the person in.
Yeah, I don't really like the
Stormlight.
I don't really like the Stormlight UK covers. I'm on team US Stormlight covers, UK everything else, which you can see based on the fact that I have US Stormlight and then UK everything else.
Yeah, the guy on that is just disgusting.
Cow dragons, let's go! All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Everyone, place your bets now. Will I have the force of will to first get Ken Liu on and then still call them cow dragons while talking with Ken Liu? Everybody place your bets.
Yeah, you will. Like,
I will.
Absolutely. You have to.
I have to. Okay.
It'd be so funny. Just keep calling them cow dragons. He would love it. I think he would find it so funny. I think.
Okay. Yeah, I won't bring it up. I won't be like, yeah, I'm gonna call them cow dragons. By the way, I'll just offhandedly be like, yeah, and where did you get the idea for the cow dragons?
That's a good idea. Yeah, you should definitely do that.
All right. So now we're gonna get Veiled Throne, a dance with cow dragons.
Yeah.
That if it was all one book, that would be the title. A dance with
cow dragons.
Yeah.
That was the original title.
But it got split, so Veiled Throne. Also, Cooney's crown, where like people can't see his face because he doesn't want people to see that he's like internally crapping himself because he doesn't know what to do. Brilliant. Great stuff.
Yeah. It's so good. There's so many of those, like just those small moments in this book that are just really, really good. Like, I want to get your opinion on this. So Rin's suicide, that was completely out of left field, I thought. You know.
Oh yeah. So Rin, Rin's really screwed things up for people. I know I should feel bad that like he's dead, but I'm like, I mean, so he was the one who didn't let Mata into the capital and pissed Mata off and caused that civil war. And now he caused like another one. And yeah, Gia encouraged him to cause it, but he also could have just been like, that's a dumb idea, Gia. No. And then he kind of screwed it up. So like he's caused 2 civil wars.
Yeah.
And like I know he's Cooney's friend, but when he died, I was kind of like, okay, now our chances of another civil war have just decreased. And what has he done that's useful? Like I know I shouldn't judge people based on their usefulness. Like that's not morally acceptable. People's lives have intrinsic value. But also like he has a role in government. What has he done that's useful? Can anyone name one thing? Like maybe he's done one useful thing, but
I think he may have done useful things. Like his suicide note where he basically like that's how Gia gets kind of found out by Cooney. Yeah. So he did that. I don't know if you would consider that useful or not, but he did that. So
It doesn't say great things about him that the most useful thing he did was
Yeah.
the way he died. Like
Yeah.
that's not a great case to be made.
No, it's
I want to do I want to do this now. I will now, after the series, be like, hey, Kenny Lou, I know you appear on YouTube channels, and I'm 100% I'm gonna call them cow dragons. Because that's what they are.
Yeah. I don't know if Ken watches these, because I remember when I did a Veiled Throne one with Alex from Tall Guy Reads. We did that, and his wife commented on it. So I don't know if Ken watches these, or if they both do. But I think they would find it very funny. Just laughing the whole way through this, calling them cow dragons.
Yeah, so when I first did them, Kyle was like, yeah, I also called them cow dragons. But now he's like, no, you've gone too far. You're too far in now. You should be calling them by their name.
No.
And I'm like, no, I will be calling them cow dragons until the end of Speaking Bones. Because that is what they are.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Do you have any other, because you know what happens, do you have any other questions for me? Things you want to know?
I want to kind of talk about the my favorite chapter in this book and of the entire series, The Voyage of Luanzia.
Oh, yes.
That chapter was incredible. I love it. It's just Luan on a bit of driftwood or something. I can't remember exactly what he was on.
You were about to call it a boat, and then you were like, that's generous.
That's generous. It wasn't a boat. It was a piece of wood.
Yeah.
And he's just sailing in the middle of nowhere, hundreds of miles from any land.
Oh, and then how am I forgetting their name? But like the
crewmen?
when they come and like open the coconuts for him.
So good, yes.
Like, yes. I think this would be a hard series to adapt, but I want a live adaptation for that scene. Like, that scene was so good. Oh yeah, that is a good pick for favorite chapter. I don't know what my favorite chapter in this book was. There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them, but that one in particular
would be up
just
there.
Stands out.
That would be up there. I mean, I thought Luan's entire it's his book, so yay, stories and stories. I love stories and stories. I got asked this by Isaac, who showed up randomly here. Also, I missed that this person is here. So I'm sorry, I missed your comment, Mr. Aragon's one. I don't know if you're still here, but I look forward to it. We'll see if
that's interesting. I respect that.
Okay, Darmok asked me if I like stories and stories, and I was like, so Darmok, because he was in the comments of the first one, but he didn't finish Wall of Storms in time because he was busy, and well, he actually didn't start Wall of Storms. That's probably why he didn't finish it in time. But we gotta believe in him. He'll catch up for Veiled Throne. And he was like, do you like stories and stories? I was like, I very much do. And you know what book has stories and stories? The Wall of Storms by Ken Liu.
He like, I think I'm trying to think if he has any like really good ones in Veiled Throne. I think he does. I can't remember. Anyway, but like definitely the backstories are definitely a book 1 and 2 thing. I think that's where they really stand out, and book 3 and 4 does less of that because it's book 3 and 4.
Also, I feel like
of a 4-book series.
Won't the backstory of a lot of the people just be like book 1 and 2?
Yeah,
but I guess they wouldn't be focuses. Who knows? Yeah. Anyways, that is a good choice for favorite chapter. Is that kind of the chapter list? It would be my favorite chapter. We'll pick from like for the first part. It was definitely like the one I talked about before. It was the Cooney chapter where he's talking with Luan and of how like promising Zomi is. From part 2, I'm not sure. It might be Thera figuring out the mirror thing with like the gods. That was really cool.
Yeah, that was a good one.
3, I also don't have a specific chapter, but probably. Oh no, that would be the voyage of Luanzia. That's in part 3. So that one. And then part 4's, the Battle of Zathin Gulf, part 1 and 2 is wild. Like that's one of the coolest battles like I've read in fantasy. I also like, I'm a fan of for battles of both, of like the zoomed in and zoomed out. That's a very like zoomed out tactical battles. I am a big fan of like really clever tactics in battles and strategy. It's very interesting to me. And this was fantastic. And Jin was like, I was like, Gia, if you hadn't captured Jin would have been the commander of the first battle, and she would have wrecked these people's shit because she is goated. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that scene where Jin gets she gets Mata's sword and like lifts it to the crowd of people, and they're all chanting fight. It's so good.
How about I think one thing I would like to give this, because I knew this was like a thick book. This read really fast. It was one of the books that managed to be like thematically rich, have a really rich setting, incredible like character stuff, but also like the pacing of this book was phenomenal. Like I kept reading 100 more pages than I expected to, like in each sitting. Because one thing that like always happens whenever I'm reading like a big series, because some long like books this size can take me anywhere from like 4 days to like 14, and I never know what it's going to be. And this was like, and the writing was really like it had all the stuff that would make it harder to have a like page turner, but it one more chaptered me like into the 3 a.m.s. Shut up, Jay. You know what I mean. It one more chaptered me into the 3 a.m.s like frequently. Yeah, that too. And this was, I got it from this because it's like there's a lot of big books like this where it's like it's really good, but the starting pages are kind of like tough to get into. I liked all of this. Like there isn't a 100 page, there isn't a 50 page stretch in this book that didn't slap. That wasn't like really good.
What did you think of the Imperial examinations thing?
I thought
because that takes up like the first bit of the book.
I really liked all the focus around the Imperial and examinations, and like Zumi was already like, I was like, all right, this person might be my favorite character in the series now. I also found it really funny how like it's a 3-day examination for like a 1-day paper, and everyone just like freaked out and got in their own head. And it was almost as much of a test of like how well you can like not crack under pressure as it was of like how knowledgeable you are. And then when Zomi was like, no, you judge this like correctly, like you weren't corrupt in the way you judging it, but like the framework was biased, was really good. Also the first person's presentation just being like dumb. It was like, come on guys, really? And you can see like how biased they are towards what's the moralist thinking, where it's like, see, everyone will be in their proper place so no one will rebel. And I'll be like, yeah, I love it. I love the first half of this book like almost as much as I love the second half of this book. I know like the second half of this book is insane, but I think the first half of this book got me to care about the characters to a degree Grace of Kings did not. And like the character work was just really excellent. And I don't think the back half of the book would work nearly as well without this like really, really good political thrill driven, character driven, but like page turny somehow first half. What did you think of the examination?
I mean, I love that part.
Book, so probably like
I probably love that part. Yeah, it was so good. It was so good. Like the thought of doing one of those exams, I was reading it and I was like, I would never do one of these. I would rather flee the country than do this. I would rather go get a piece of wood like Luan was on and just go into the sea and see how I would do out there.
I'll do the examination before I'm on a piece of driftwood stuck in the ocean. Also, I forgot to talk about this. But I feel like if I was in the examination, I would just like, I wouldn't have the patience to like plan it out. I would put down my answer on the first day, and then I would just like try and avoid boredom for 2 days. And then I just go like really, I'd be like, hey, like I'm done. Can I read my book, please? Like it doesn't have anything hidden. It's Wall of Storms. No shit. Wait, this is hacks.
It's so
Can I read like Lord of the
cheating.
Rings or something? This doesn't have anything about this. I get why I can't read Wall of Storms, but you know, do you guys want to read Wall of Storms? Give this to
Start
Cooney.
reading-
It'll be
start-
really useful.
Start reading Speaking Bones and the in there. Just be like, it's like, oh my god, you guys are in for some shit here.
I mean, like, I just like to alert you all. You guys are in a book, and right now you're in the part called Whispering Breezes. And I would just really like to alert you that the next part is called Gusting Gales. The third part is called Tempest from the North. And the fourth part is called Clash of Typhoons. And I really think this is relevant information. Okay.
It'll give off the same energy as when Biff gets the almanac and fucking Back to the Future. It's the same energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that would be me the examination. I thought the gods in book 2 were brilliant. I loved how the gods were like, wait, what are we doing here? Like, are these people like how their form changed based on how they were worshipped? And yeah, also, which god was the Chad who became mortal? And I forget which one it was, but
I think it was either, I forget his name, Lutho or Rutho.
Jay thinks it's Luthu, so we'll just assume Luthu is Jay is right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like we have this new government. Just be like, no, let's go back.
Mr. Aragorn's is still here. The person whose comment I somehow missed the first time. So
yeah.
So now should I just open to a random part and be like, what do you think of this part? And then you can tell me it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Sure.
It depends if I remember it or not.
No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
All right. I keep being like, are we running out of stuff? It's been an hour and 11 minutes, and then there keeps being more stuff to talk about.
There's still more stuff. It's like Davis talking about the logograms. That was one of the things that Ken made. That was
he made that.
He made those holograms. Yeah.
Okay, I want to say, because I forgot to mention it, Zomi's case for getting rid of the logograms for the exam, despite like actually really loving the logograms, I love that because like that actually is a really good idea. Like that would legitimately really help. Like it would remove a massive barrier to entry that has nothing to do with actual capability at like whatever position you're going to. The logograms were incredibly cool. Like, this book's good.
Is good. Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. So do you have any predictions for Speaking Bones?
Oh,
predictions what's going to happen?
Bones. I'm going to predict.
Or sorry, Veiled Throne. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I think lots of named characters are going to die. Okay, let's be more specific. Okay, so let's think of where. Okay, Thera is going over to the other continent, and is stuck in a marriage pact. I'm going to predict that goes poorly. Firo is kind of the heir with Gia ruling as regent. I'm going to predict that goes poorly. Timu is being seduced by the ruler of the Lysulu. I'm going to predict that goes poorly. What are other plot lines that I can predict will go poorly? But they're gonna train cow dragons, and that's gonna be cool.
Okay.
But it'll probably actually go poorly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna predict more people science the shit out of things. The protagonist of The Martian would do well in this world. He'd be like, "Good job, everybody." Actually, all the well, I don't know about Artemis because I haven't read Artemis because no one likes it. But both, I'm just gonna pretend Artemis doesn't exist and say both Andy Weir protagonists would approve of this world because people are sciencing the shit out of everything. I'm gonna predict people continue to science the shit out of things. All the people are gonna die from the various civil wars, and the cow dragons will be able to live the remainder of their life in peace. That's how the book ends. And then there's actually like how do I keep forgetting their name of like the underwater society? and then they are going to just go to like send a DM, slide into the Cow Dragons B DMs and be like, "Good work, those people were a pain in the ass." This is how it works. Peace treaty. We get everything under the ocean. You get everything above the ocean. And then the Cow Dragons are like, "Yeah, that's fine. We don't want to go in the ocean anyways." And then the little island of people are going to be like the only people left because everyone forgot about them in the massive war. All right, that's how it's going to end.
Good. That's how it's going to end.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I like that. I really do.
You watch, something there is going to be like weirdly accurate, ironically. All right.
Oh God, yeah. It's a weird series at times. Is a really weird series. It's just like
what good series aren't weird at times?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah,
I'm here for weird.
I can always get down with weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this prediction does not have a good chance of being successful.
No, I don't think so.
Actually, maybe Ken Liu is just like, we've had a little bit. He's gonna turn into Bob Ross and be like, we're just gonna write a happy little character over here and a happy little character over here. And he's like, there's been enough bloodshed for the first 2 books. We have 4 books worth of bloodshed. So the last 2 books, we're just gonna chill. They're gonna negotiate a really good peace treaty. The Darans are gonna show the Lysulu how to farm, so they don't starve, and all the people from the other continent are gonna be able to live a better life without invading Dara and making everything horrible. And Gia is going to have a moment of enlightenment, and she's going to just walk into the wilderness and leave and just not do anything. Yeah. We've now exposed that Charmaine did the audiobook. So how is Michael Kramer's narration, Charmaine? That's not true. I spell things wrong and I don't do the audiobook. So not conclusive.
We know what you mean. It doesn't matter.
It's like it's true that if you do the audiobook, then you will spell things wrong, but it's not true that if you spell things wrong, then you do the audiobook. I gotta get my conditionals straight.
Yeah, I didn't do the audiobooks for this because the audiobooks don't exist in the UK, so I couldn't do them. So
well, I just don't do audiobooks for
things
generally. I'm trying for some rereads, but I would never do. I'm not doing audiobooks for a book. I like the first time I read it.
Yeah,
I just like This is the difference between me reading a book and me reading an audiobook. When I read Jin having a huge brain and outsmarting the Lysulu, I go, "Let's go, Jin! Let's go!" When I do it in audiobook, I go, "That was well written."
Yeah. They don't hit as hard, I don't think, in audio form.
Yeah. And it's the same thing for like all the types of moments. I just like, I can be like, that was well written, but it just isn't the same. Jay, be honest.
I don't know. Where did you find it? He went pirating. He sailed the 7 seas.
Jay, I'm currently calling the police on you. Okay.
Yeah. I've hold on. Okay, I've got 2 9s up. So if Jay wants to tell me, where he got it, as I type in the 3rd 9 here.
Yeah, we have evidence, Jay. Run.
Yeah.
All right. The universe.
I remember that quote. Yeah. Yeah.
Because the universe is knowable. Which I know, like, and I like the really like the magic that is kind of unexplainable, but I do like as well Ken Liu going the other way and doing it really well, where he's like, no, the universe is knowable. Like, you can understand things. It just might be really hard to understand. Yeah, I didn't do the audiobooks. I pronounce things wrong. I just pronounce things wrong and just go with it. This is my strategy and has been the entire time.
Yeah.
The only, like, you can tell I listen to author interviews if I pronounce things correctly. That being said, people who listen to Erickson interviews still don't pronounce things correctly because Erickson pronounces his stuff wrong. Erickson will be like, "This is how it's pronounced," and everyone is just like, "No, it is not the Tist Andy. It's like the Tisty Andy. Come on." Tista Erickson's like Tista Edur, and everyone's like, "No, that's not how we're saying it, Erickson." But I'll say things wrong.
Yeah,
I've accepted it.
As long as people know what you're talking about, it's fine.
I mean, I'm reading the genre with the most made up words. Oh, I will watch some Ken Liu interviews for sure. Especially because I'm probably going to try and ask him to come on the channel, and I don't want to do the thing where I ask him the questions that he's been asked 762 times, because that drives me insane when people have someone for an interview. Oh my god, I randomly got a nosebleed. Well, that's unfortunate.
Oh my god.
We are going to end the show there because that was unexpected. What is going on? Book's too good. What is going on with that? Anyway, so we're going to end there. We had an hour 20 anyways. That was unexpected, but my hand has been slightly forced. So yeah, I'm going to watch a bunch of interviews. My rage at people who repeat questions that have been answered so many times caused this. There was a Jim Butcher interview. I've watched a lot of Jim Butcher interviews. Jim Butcher gets asked the same questions a lot of times. And this person, it was a mix of the person interviewing Jim Butcher and like fan questions. And all the fan questions were really good and new questions. And all this guy's questions were questions that had been answered 766 times. Like, it drove me insane. So I will, I've never had an author on the channel, but trust me, if I do, I will try and ask new questions, which will be easier if I have Jim Butcher on the channel because I won't have to go watch all his interviews because I've already done that. Anyway, thanks for coming on, RJ.
No worries.
You can now do the outro because my nose is bleeding, and you can tell people where to find you. It's going to be linked in the description. Go check out RJ's channel. He DNFs like a madman, but he's got good stuff. Also, he has to buy special books because he's actually 32 feet tall, and all the books in the background are a trick to make you think that he's only like normally tall.
I think we can say this now is that I'm gonna announce it here. I'm gonna be playing Mata in the new Dandelion Dynasty adaptation that's coming out.
No, you're too tall. That
in a year
work.
or two.
You're not tall.
They'll edit it down in post.
It's like all the other actors weren't tall enough, and they were like, "This guy's too tall."
Yeah, so it's like we might do the thing that they did in Lord of the Rings or something. We might do that. We'll do that kind of stuff.
That'd be fun.
And obviously, Kunigaru is going to be played by Henry Cavill. So get excited! Get excited for that! Get very excited for that. And No to Me is going to be played by Chris Pratt. So,
that's a pretty great place to end, in my opinion. Thanks for coming, everyone. I appreciated having y'all in chat. And I appreciate RJ for coming on. It wasn't exactly a hard sales pitch to get him on because it's like his favorite book ever. But I'm happy you came on anyways. We'll have one for Veiled Throne with Bookborn, and then Speaking Bones with Kyle, and the quartet of live shows will be complete. Bye, everyone.
See you guys.